you, Kaylee. All right, so this is your team. This is the people that run elections in Buncombe County. As I said, I'm Corrine Duncan. I am the director. I'm going to go through who each of these people are and what their tasks are. And you can reach out to any one of us at any time. Our contact information, phone numbers, and emails are on our website. We try to be as available to you as we possibly can. These people are your people. They're your neighbors. They're your community. Most of us are here tonight to answer questions as well. So you'll hear some of us presenting, and then there are other people in the background available for answering questions as well. So let's start with Bria Bailey and Devin Whitney. They are our elections technical specialists. And we added a brand new person to our team just this week. We're very excited about getting to add someone, and that's Dare Holloway. These three people will work together to oversee the elections system. So the computers that you see when you're checking in at early voting or on election day, and the machines that you put your ballot in, and the software that goes behind it. That's what those people oversee. Alan Johnson is our voting systems manager, so he oversees the warehouse and all of the LNA testing that happens to those machines before an election even starts. We have Joyce Knavel. She's our voter registration specialist, so you might have talked to her when you're doing a registration for the first time or updating your registration. And then we have Kaylee Nose, who you have met already. She's our absentee and training specialist. She's relatively new as well, although she had a very big introduction to absentee last year in 2020 when we had such a big turnout. Neggy Fox is our elections preparation specialist. She primarily focuses on early voting. She runs the entire early voting program from finding sites. Some of you on this call may have seen her last night at the board meeting presenting our proposal for the early voting plan for the primary. Kevin Roberts, he's our poll worker and voting locations manager, and he also is clerk to the board, so you'll see him at every board meeting as well. And then we have Victoria Pickens. She is accounting and campaign finance, and our filing period actually starts next Monday, so she's been very active lately. These people, each of these people has taken an oath of integrity. We follow the law, and there are consequences if we don't follow the law. This is a really, really hard job. It's intense, it's long hours, it is a lot of time away from your family, and the risk is high for not doing a good job. And goodness knows they don't do it for the money. So these people have heart. I am very, very proud of them, and you can be too. Let's go to the next slide. This is our board. So in the following slide, I'll talk a little bit more about general election structure. Here in Buncombe County and in every one of the 100 counties in North Carolina, the administrative part of elections, which is myself and the team that I just introduced to you, is overseen by a board, an independent board. And this is a 5-member board, and these are those people. Jake Quinn is our chairman, and he is the party of the governor. This is a bipartisan board. And then the rest of the members are distributed among both parties. So we have Elizabeth Newman, our secretary. Bo Carpenter is one of our newest members, along with Stephen Aceto and Linda Block. And you probably, if you have been following elections, you've seen Jake, Elizabeth, and Linda quite often. And so that is our board. And we now will go on to talking about how elections are structured in North Carolina. What entities are involved in running elections. First and foremost is election law. I have my law book right here. We all have one. It's of course also online, which is useful for searching things. And that is what we run elections on. So there's federal and state legislation, as well as municipalities and other local districts that have their own charters that relay their own rules. In fact, a new district was instituted just 2 days ago. The city of Asheville will switch from being an appointed district to an elected district. So we're adding that to the ballot this primary. The State Board of Elections has a 5-member board, and they oversee the entire state of North Carolina. They have a similar structure to us, where there's an administrative unit, where there's a director, Karen Brinson Bell, and all of her staff that is overseen by their board, their 5-member board. They set procedures for the entire state, and they also do the final state audit and certification. Everyone thinks, or it's common to think that election day is the final day, but it's actually, those are unofficial results. And so a lot happens at the county and state level after the election to certify it and make those results official. The county board offices, so every single county, all 100 counties in North Carolina, have their own offices and their own director and their own staff and their own 5-member board. They are the ones who are actually conducting the election. So they're the boots on the ground, so to speak, and they provide voter information and also do the final county audit and certification. Now, not part of government, but also part of the mission are the political parties, and the elections office it's very important that we remain impartial and bipartisan and a place where people can trust in. And so it's not our place to be campaigning. That is the place for the political parties. They do interact with us a lot, thankfully. It's a very good partnership. And they nominate election day officials and observers, and they are also responsible for campaigning. And that is the overview for who manages elections. And I'll turn it over to Kaylee to start on the security piece.
All right, thank you. So I will be going over our physical security. So for our physical security, how we actually secure spaces that people are accessing and traveling through, we have cameras in the important parts of our buildings. So things like entrances, areas that are locked or otherwise have important materials that would need to be under camera. We also have alarm systems that allow us access not only to the building, but to those important areas. So we have multiple points of alarms. And we access these using keypads and badge readers. And so we are able to give permission to specific people, even within our office, so that we can limit access to even more sensitive areas. So for example, we can all get into the building where we work, but then only some of us have access to areas with ballots or proprietary software. So that is just another layer of security that we can add. We also have multiple procedures and supervisory roles that allow us to make sure that we have strong procedures. So first off, we have board supervision. So we have a 5-member board, as Corrine mentioned, that supervises many of our major processes. And this includes absentee ballot review, uploading of results on election night, things like that. They are always welcome to view those processes and view all of our auditing materials, all those kinds of things. We work in bipartisan teams whenever possible, and there are certain major procedures that require bipartisan teams to be involved. Examples of these are providing assistance to nursing home residents with their absentee ballots, anything having to do with ballots. So if we are transporting ballots, we have bipartisan teams. If we are reviewing absentee ballots for approval, we have bipartisan teams, those types of things. We also have bipartisan teams at our polling locations, including early voting, that are responsible for packing up supplies, bringing back supplies, which includes ballots, and then things like opening the polls, closing the polls, making sure that seal numbers are correct. That is also all done in bipartisan teams. We do have precinct observers available at early voting and on election day. These are nominated by the political parties, and they are able to come in and observe the processes which are occurring. One thing that keeps election day secure is that we have workers that remain at the site all day long, and this has two benefits. So one is that the workers are there consistently. The space is never left alone, obviously. And if we have a question to ask about what happened during election day, we are able to go to the same people, and they were there all day. So they're making sure that consistently things were running smoothly. We also have security seals and chain of custody forms, and we'll talk a little more about these later, but they allow us to make sure that things that are left overnight have not been tampered with, and we have chain of custody to make sure that everything that goes out comes back. And this is true not only for our ballots, but also for things like laptops, which have our poll books, and various other election materials that are really important. I'm going to turn it back over to Corrine now to talk about our auditing procedures and what kind of record keeping we have.
Hello again. So if you'll, thank you, Kaylee. So I'm going to start at Canvas, which is actually election after election day, and then we can work backwards. So Canvas is a very, very important time. This is the time when we are certifying the election. So we are doing things like looking at the absentee ballots that came in on time after election day and the provisional ballots, but we're also going through to make sure that everything matches up from all of the voting that has happened up into and on election day. There's a lot that goes into this these 10 days after the election. And our board oversees all of that. So the intention of having the board and administrative units separated from each other is for accountability. So there's built-in integrity with that. So we do that the first 10 days after the election. We're doing audits and finalizing results, and then that all gets presented to the board. Then once we certify at the county level, that's given to the State Board of Elections, and then they have time after that to certify the entire election across the state. So that's what Canvas is. And let's move on to the audit procedures for all the various types of voting. So there's 4 types of voting in North Carolina: absentee by mail, early voting, election day, and provisional ballots. Absentee, the process, that's kind of an exciting process because you can see that happen at board meetings. So absentees are reviewed there's a pre-review from staff, and then there is the final review and the approval of absentees at every board meeting. And in addition to that, staff audits that process. So we make sure that the number of ballots that were received matches the number of ballots that were checked in, matches the number that were presented to the board, matches the number that were scanned, which matches the physical number of envelopes that we have. So we try to, in all auditing processes, make sure that there is an independent check on everything. Early voting is the same, except that that happens at our warehouse. So the poll workers do their own check at the early voting sites, and then those materials are brought back to our warehouse, where we do another check and then a thorough audit. And we do that every single night of early voting. So the ballots come back, the authorization to vote forms come back, and the data comes back from the computers. So we have 3 sources to check to make sure that all of those match. And we do that every day. And then election day happens in that canvas period, 10 days after the election. So after election day, we have this big process at the warehouse the night of the election, where the poll workers bring back data, they bring back ballots, they bring back the authorization to vote forms and all of their supplies. And we actually started, we'll talk about this later in the presentation, but I'm excited about it. We started a pilot project to add GPS trackers to the ballots and the data, so we can see those coming back independently as well. So there's that type of tracking, like physical tracking as well. And then provisional ballots, those are also audited. So that night when all the materials are brought back, we make sure that those all match in the same way, just preliminarily. Do we have them all? Does it match what was in the computer? We talk to all of the chief judges that bring them in, and then we research those ballots thoroughly, and when they come back during that canvas period. And then when we are presenting to the board at Canvas, we do a complete audit of all of these processes. So we make sure that nobody who voted absentee voted on election day or on early voting. We do all of that cross-checking. And then that gets presented to the board, and we talk about the entire election until the board is satisfied that all of the data and results and auditing that we have provided to them is satisfactory to them, and they certify the election. Next slide, please. Another type of accounting that we do is chain of custody. So for all of our important materials, and there's a lot of them, we follow them. We have a paper trail for them. So that includes the ballots, our laptops, which are the poll books. That's what voters are checking in on election day and during early voting. We have chain of custody on all of our machines. That includes, of course, the tabulator, the ballot tabulator, and our keys and the phones that we are required to have out on the sites. The picture that you have here is of just one of those chain of custody forms. This is the one that goes out on election day. So the chief judge has the responsibility to check in and check out all of these things, record seal numbers, record the flow of ballots. So, that we make sure that when we send out a certain number of ballots, we account for ones that were used and ones that were not used. We look at those, we count those afterwards, we make sure that all matches. And then that, of course, gets compared to the computer's check-in process, as well as the tabulator's number. So we've got the tabulator, we have the check-in computers, we have the physical ballots, and we have this accounting that also happens by the poll workers. Now let's move on to other types of record keeping. One thing that we have in North Carolina, required by state law, is paper ballots. So they can always be recounted and always be audited. And that's great in a lot of ways. There can be things like a power outage or something that would require the ballots to just be stored in the emergency bin for a while. That doesn't, we actually don't rely on the electronic system. We can run an entire election just on paper. We don't actually need all of the electronic equipment that we have. Of course, it makes it way more efficient and easier to audit and all of those things. I am not advocating going back, but I think that it's just really comforting to know that we don't need all of those things. If all of the power went out across the entire county, we would still be able to run an election. All we need is the ballots and a pen. Records retention laws are also something that is meant to protect elections and increase integrity. These are, it's state law, there's standard retention timelines for various types of elections materials. So that is the ballots, the authorization to vote forms, the absentee envelopes, the accounting, all of the chain of custody forms that we have. All of the auditing materials will be kept for a period of time after the election. For a general election, for example, the presidential election, we keep those for 22 months. If there are lawsuits or investigations underway, we keep them in you know, until those are completed. I had something, but it just blanked my mind. So let's go on to the last piece. Excuse me. Which are the post-election procedures. So we talked quite a bit about what happens during canvass, of what the types of things that we present to the board. We also do audits that are meant for the public. So the sample audit is what is currently the law. And this audit is where a randomly selected group of precincts or voting locations, so they can be the absentee, they can be any early voting site, or they can be the election day precincts, are randomly selected by the State Board of Elections. And we do a hand-eye recount of that entire precinct. And this is meant to test the accuracy of the machines again. So we've tested the accuracy of the machines before the election. We are monitoring during the entire election with all of our auditing processes, and then we do it again afterwards. So there's before, during, and after, and this is the after audit. And the state board is also investigating doing a risk limiting audit. So there are a lot of other jurisdictions around the county that use this type of audit. And it is a more statistically robust version of the sample audit. Where the sample audit is randomly selecting from the precincts across the county, the risk limiting audit selects from all precincts. So it's more of a countywide look. And it's just more statistically robust. And we wanted to see what, you know, how this audit would run. So we joined the pilot program this year and we tested it out. That was open to the public as well. So we might be seeing that coming down the line. And that is it for my section. So we can move on to the next piece, transparency.
All right, so I'm going to talk us through transparency. So one of the ways that we want to be transparent and encourage the public to be informed about elections is we have public board meetings. And then we also have some public processes that are not meetings, such as the sample audit. And we hold events like this to try and encourage engagement and being informed about what goes into running an election. So if you want to join our public meetings, you can find them on our website, and we encourage you to join those. And you'll see the processes listed there as well, all of our public events. Another factor of transparency is that we do have records requests. So we have a lot of data available on our website, such as voter registration statistics. You can see who has voted absentee so far in an election, things like that. That's all available on our website. And then you can also come to us and request records if there's something else you might be looking for. A lot of what we do does fall under public record, just as the same with other government organizations. The observers that I mentioned earlier, who can go and sit in on the precincts and early voting sites, are another method of transparency. You do have to be nominated by the political party. And part of this is to make sure that we don't have an overflow of people attending the precinct, because ultimately we want the voting process to go smoothly and not have distractions within the precinct. Then we have readily available data, as I mentioned, on our website. You can also call us, request things like maps, voter registration data, all that stuff. So if you're unable to access via our website, feel free to give us a call. Now, the State Board of Elections.
Kaylee, can I interrupt?
Sure.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
And it goes along with the transparency that you were talking about. So I was speaking to the retention of materials and how they have different schedules that they are held on. The actual election results are held indefinitely. So that is something that is available always. That's filed here at the county board, it's filed at the State Board of Elections, and it's also filed at the clerk of court. So those are materials that are indefinite. And we're actually working, and if there's questions about this, we can talk about this after with Kaylee, but we're working to get a lot of that online right now. It is all on paper, but we're trying to digitize all of that. Thank you for allowing the interruption.
All righty. So if you ever do have a concern or something to report, you can always report it to your precinct official where you are voting, or to the county board office. But we also wanted to make you aware that there is a state board investigation team. And this team will look into any sort of reports about fraud or any concerns that a voter has expressed to them. It is, you can contact them by contacting the state board, and it is for county board use as well as public use. So if we have a concern about a voter, we can submit a report. And if a voter has a concern about us, they can submit that report as well. So this is a great resource if you do have strong concerns. So we will be moving on to talk about technology tonight, and Devin is not with us, so I will be doing this portion as well. The first part of technology is our cybersecurity awareness. So we do have safeguards in place that make our cybersecurity more robust. Part of that is restricted access to certain softwares. So they do require passwords and they do require users to log in. The State Board of Elections manages the user base for the voter registration database that we have. And so all of our employees will get a login to that. That login is then has a second kind of check with multi-factor authentication. And if you have a Google account or another major login account, you might have seen that sometimes it will ask you to confirm that you are the one logging in with an email, a phone call, or a code sent to a text message. Those are multi-factor authentication. So you have a password and you have another method of verifying that you are the person logging in. This is something that we use for logging into our voter registration database as well. We also have election official training, not only for our poll workers, but also for our in-house staff. They receive training on cybersecurity, so how to spot a phishing email, which is a malicious email that may have a link that you shouldn't click, that kind of thing. We're taught how to spot it, and our IT team within the county has support for monitoring those emails as well, and making sure that we are only engaging with emails that are coming from a reputable source. We also have multi-agency monitoring. So just as the county is monitoring our emails for phishing and provides support if we have concerns about an email or a link, the state and the federal government also monitor cybersecurity to make sure that any threats or any concerns are addressed as soon as possible and that they are communicated to the county. So our voting equipment is something that we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about today. So all voting equipment used in North Carolina is certified by the State Board of Elections, and it is also certified by the United States Election Assistance Commission. This is a process that can take up to 10 years to complete, so it is very thorough. And if there are updates to the machines, those kinds of things, those also undergo a certification process as well. On our voting equipment, as well as our laptops and poll worker laptops, we have password requirements that are regularly changed, which adds another layer of security. And back on our voting equipment, these are offline local machines. Another piece of equipment that is offline and is only local is the machine that we use to report, to upload and tabulate election results. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is that it's just another layer of security. We're taught about cybersecurity. Everyone is monitoring cybersecurity, but then there are some devices that we don't even have connected to a network for just that extra added bump of security. We also have encrypted data on the media drives, which allow the different machines to talk to each other. So when we're bringing the data from the voting equipment to our tabulation software, the data is encrypted when it's traveling. We do rigorous testing and preparation of our equipment. So we have a process called logic and accuracy testing. And in this process, we create a test deck of ballots, which is a set of test ballots that we mark certain results, and then we know what those results should be if this test deck goes through the machine. We will then run that deck through the machine and make sure that the machine prints out the expected results. We not only do this as a background procedure for all of our machines, but we also hold machine testing, which is a board meeting where our board members can randomly select as many machines as they would like to, and it occurs before the election. They are able to make a test deck of ballots, and we run it through and make sure that the expected results is what comes out. After that, we'll clear all the data. We'll have a mock election, which is run by the state board. We don't clear the data until after the mock election, actually, but we have the mock election. It's run by the state board. All participating counties will be involved. So if it's a statewide election, all 100 counties will. If it's a municipal election, then the counties with municipal elections will participate. And basically, we run through the whole process, kind of start to finish. If you run the ballots through the machine, get the results, upload them, it's making sure that we are prepared to run the whole process smoothly. Then before any of these machines go out to the site, all that data is cleared so that these are fresh and ready to go for the election. As Corrine mentioned earlier, we do have a new piece of technology that we are adding to our team. This is GPS trackers, and it allows us to tell where the ballots and the results are. Now, the reason for this is because at the end of the night, we have poll workers at the end of election night. We have poll workers drive these two items back to our office. And this is not only helpful for making sure where these are, but sometimes people get caught up at a precinct. For example, I used to be a poll worker. One night I locked myself out of my precinct and had to wait for the owner of the precinct to come let me back in. And this is a way for us to know at election services, okay, these are still sitting here. It is not strange that they haven't made it back to us yet. They have not left the precinct. It's a very helpful tool for us from an administrative side of things, and it's also incredibly helpful to just know where these absolutely very important items are throughout the night. This is a pilot program that we practiced in 2021, and we hope to implement it fully in 2022. I will now pass it along to Nagy Fox, our early voting coordinator, who will talk about how you can help if you want to get involved.
Thank you, Kaylee. So we're now at the section of how can you help? And we're hoping that you see that there's lots of ways that you can help us. We want to promote election security by making sure that, of course, you vote, either by absentee by mail, during early voting period, or during election day. Voting is absolutely critical to promote elections for us. We want you to report any concerns that poll workers that you might see while voting to either the poll workers at the precincts or at the early voting sites, or to us, to the County Board of Elections staff. It would be very helpful if you can get as much information as you can in order to provide that to us. The more that we have, the better. So for example, the who, the when, the where, and that information and some details of what happened so that we can respond and hopefully address these concerns as quickly as possible. Also, another way that you can help is making sure that you're using trusted, reliable, and informed sources. So that means making sure that you're going to our websites, either the County Board of Elections website here for Buncombe, or that you're going to the State Board of Elections for your resources as far as information goes. And then we ask that you verify any information that you may hear out there before sharing. If you have any questions or concerns, call us. We are happy to address any concerns, verify any information, and provide any source that we may need and answer all your questions in order to ensure that you are getting the correct and reliable information. And then staying engaged. Being part of this webinar is just another way for you to participate in staying in the know, receiving information that is reliable from us and that's trusted, and just making sure that you participate in any other public engagement opportunities that we may offer in the future. So these are our official websites. And so we have the North Carolina State Board of Elections. We have our Buncombe County Elections website. And then we are also out there in social media. So we have our own Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all of these different platforms. If you use those, just look for the check, the little blue check in these different platforms to confirm that it is an actual county legitimate and legal site. And so you're getting a reliable and trusted source for any information regarding elections. So that's just another way for you to ensure that you're passing along the right information and getting the right information for yourself. Another way that you can help us is to get involved. So we're always looking for people to work in elections. By working elections, you're not only helping to ensure that elections happen, but you are also serving your community. So we're always looking for people that can be impartial, honest, have a positive attitude, be fair and friendly, and just be customer service oriented. And that's a great way to serve and get involved. We have several ways to work in elections. We have office positions. These are temporary positions here at our office at the Board of Elections. And these positions are a great way to learn new skills, build in your resume, or even meet great people. All of our openings right now are posted on our website, and that's a great resource for you to find out what's available, job descriptions, how to apply, any additional information that you may want. And those are out there ready for people to apply and at this time. We also have MAT teams. Those are our multi-partisan assistant teams. These are folks who go out in teams of 2 to nursing homes and assisted living facilities where they assist voters in these facilities with absentee by mail. So that could be requesting the form, filling out the form, sending it in, and then getting that ballot, helping with the ballots, and then making sure that that gets returned as well. So that's another way of helping. That's, would be several hours a week, but certainly a way to help. We also have early voting. So for 2.5 weeks, we have early voting here in Buncombe County. We're always looking for folks who can serve the community in this particular way of voting. We typically split our work days into 2 shifts, morning and afternoons. And fortunately, we've been very fortunate to have folks that come back year after year serving in this capacity. And but we're always looking to add more people as we provide more sites when we do early voting. And then there's election day. So obviously we have 80 precincts in Buncombe County. All precincts open at 6:30 in the morning, close at 7:30. It's one day. There's some time for training, and then of course the day before for setup. But we're always looking for folks who can also serve in this capacity as well. All right, and this concludes our presentation. We will now turn it over to our Q&A session. Again, our website is right here where you can check out any of the information we provided, plus get additional information that's out there. And so now we will turn it back to you for questions and hopefully lots of those. So back to you, Kaylee and Corinne.
We don't have any questions in the chat right now, but as they come in, I will verbalize them so everyone can hear what the question is, and then we'll have the relevant staff member answer.
We want questions. And I think it was implied in Negi's portion of helping out, but I just want to explicitly say that helping out brings you into how elections are run and what kind of security procedures there are and how things are safeguarded, and I think that it really gives people confidence, and so that is another very great benefit of working in our office or being a poll worker.
We have one question. It says, will this recording be posted on your website?
So we are recording this, and we do have a YouTube space where we will post these. I think that we need to find a place on our website. This is the first time that we've done these sort of things, live presentations, and so we'll look for a place to store those so that people can find them. And if you are looking to share that with someone, reach out to us, and we'll figure that out.
We have a question. What does the staff do with maintaining voter rolls?
And I don't think that Joyce is here tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I will take that question, and the short answer is a lot. We have a lot of list maintenance that we do for maintaining voter rolls, and rest of staff pop in if I miss something. But the first step is when you are registered, all of that information, the address and identity information is verified. We send out voter cards that go out in the mail, and if they're returned, then that is an unverified address. So there's that kind of initial process that goes on, and then we continue to maintain those rolls. So there are all sorts of things. One is we have a list maintenance on when people pass away. So we keep up with that and remove those. We've got lists of felonies, so we make sure that we're following the laws on that. If there are voters that have not contacted us in 2 federal cycles, those are automatically removed by the State Board of Elections or go into inactive status. And where we have to request information from the voter before they can vote. Staff, am I missing any other? The State Board of Elections has a good section on list maintenance and maintaining voter rolls as well.
All right, our next question is about the new election in Asheville. What is that, and can you just talk more about it?
So in Buncombe County, the school districts are divided in the City of Asheville schools and the Buncombe County schools. Buncombe County Schools has been elected by district for quite a while now. And the City of Asheville School District was appointed until just a few days ago. So that that session law changed the structure so that it increases the board from a 5-member board to a 7-member board and causes them to be elected. And so this first, there's going to be staggered positions. So there will be 4 seats open for this election. And it's also a primary system. So if there's 4 seats open, so we need 5 people or more to file to have a primary. So as long as more than 5 people file in the next upcoming 2 weeks, then we'll have a primary for those 4 seats. And then in 2024, the other 3 seats will be open for election as well.
What are the most common mistakes absentee voters make on their ballots?
I think that one is a great one for you, Kaylee.
Yep. So again, I am the absentee voting program coordinator. So hello, everyone. The most common mistakes people make on their absentee ballots, I would say, make sure you sign it. If you do have a missing signature, we send you a cure letter, but it is a longer process. And so make sure that you sign it when you do it the first time. And then make sure that you get 2 witnesses. And those 2 witnesses have to put their printed name, their address, and their signature. So make sure that you get all pieces of information from each of your witnesses. If we're missing even 1 witness signature, then we are not able to approve the ballot and we will have to send you a new one. If that gets close to the deadline, then it gets really tight. So kind of slow down and make sure that you review that back page of the absentee application, which is the form printed onto the back of the envelope. And then the other thing that I would say is your ballot is specific to you when you receive it in the mail. And so make sure that when you open your envelope that contains your return envelope and your ballot and a set of instructions, make sure that you are using the ballot that came in your envelope. We have some folks who mix up their ballots with household members or neighbors, and it's very important that you're using the ballot that is specific to you. Will I be able to request an absentee ballot online next year? And will I be able to vote online? I think I can also go ahead and take this one. So yes, you will be able to request an absentee ballot online next year. We do have the request form can be submitted online, and you can do that by either you can find the request form online, print it out and bring it to us, or you can use our absentee voting portal, which is a portal provided by the State Board of Elections. And it's a way where you can type in all of your information and then sign by drawing with your mouse, and then it will come directly to us. We really like this portal and we recommend that you use it if you do have access to technology. It's a quicker process. Your request will make it to us much faster than it will in the mail. It'll get to us in a matter of hours. And it also will tell you or prompt you if there's any sort of mistake. So if there's a number of mistakes that it will pre-warn you about, such as if you mistyped your social and it doesn't match what we have, that kind of thing. Will I be able to vote online? No. We do have an online voting portal for uniformed, for our military and overseas voters. So if you are in the military actively, or if you are actively overseas at the time of the election, you would be able to use that online portal to vote. But if you are within the states, then you do have to vote that ballot, which you will get in the mail. It is a paper ballot. Also, if you are visually impaired, you can use the online portal to cast your ballot electronically. So please reach out to us if you have questions about that overseas voting or visually impaired voting options. We have a question that was answered in the Q&A. You can likely see it if you look on the answered tab of the question and answer section, but I wanted to address it live as well. Do you foresee needing volunteers to help with absentee ballots in the spring election? If you are interested in getting involved with us, we do recommend that you apply to work with us online. As Nagy Fox mentioned, we do have our job postings available. We are not looking to use volunteers for the spring election. We are hoping that our staffing amounts will cover that. However, if you're interested in being on a list, if we do implement volunteers, if turnout is higher than expected or anything like that, please reach out to us. And we can also talk about other opportunities like being a poll worker or an early voting worker. So yeah, reach out if you have any interest in volunteering with us. We can talk over options.
I will add to that, on our website, on the home page, on the far right side, there is a new tab that says employment opportunities, and that is where you would find those links to the employment opportunities for our office.
I'm a big fan of awkward silences to prompt questions, so we'll do that for a while until we get some. We really do appreciate all of you coming.
And if there's any slides that anyone would like to go back to and get another look at, we can travel back to slides as well.
Kareen's serious. She does this in staff meetings. She'll wait forever until you ask a question.
I do want to mention, I know that this flyer on the right-hand side of the screen can be a little hard to read on a mobile device, especially. If you're interested in reading more about these 10 facts about election security in North Carolina, this is a flyer that is provided by the State Board of Elections. So you can find this information on their website, ncsbe.gov. Or if you wanted to send an email to the elections office, we can also forward you this flyer. We have a question. I understand there was a hearing to request that candidate filing and primary voting be postponed for a few months in 2022. Is that the case?
That is not something, definitely not on our level, not at the county level. If this were the case, then it would be at the legislature. There are some laws, some bills that have been proposed about the districts, the new districts. So that might be what this this question is pertaining to. So those have to go through the process and be heard. So, but nothing has been made official. That is a possibility that we hope doesn't happen for the sake of administrating the elections.
That does remind me of another good point that we could hit on today is the next upcoming election is March 8th, 2022. So keep that deadline in your minds. Early voting will be the 2.5 weeks preceding the election, ending on the Saturday before the election. And absentee ballots can be requested as early as January 1st. So it has to be within the same calendar year of the election. And then absentee ballots will go out January 17th. So that's just a little timeline of the next coming election.
I suppose we can let them go now. Like I said earlier, we really appreciate you coming to these events, and people like you are really keys in getting the correct information out, accurate information about how elections are actually run. So being able to have a platform to give you the information that you need to tell other people is very important, and we're grateful that you're here.